Oh, check this shit out, Mister.
Keeps
I
you
don't have a
back
car and does have a car.
Yeah, I've got a car. It's called a truck. I left it at my
Shush.
brother's house, and then he got stolen. Hi, welcome back to the Radio Podcast. My name's Devin. I'm joined by Austin.
Hello.
And Jeff.
Hello.
It might be the F1 summer break, but boy howdy, is there news.
Let's start with some bullshit.
All right.
Some Red Bull shit. So, something that I think we all thought was maybe not likely to happen, but was definitely a possibility, happened. Namely, Pierre Gasly has been demoted to Toro Rosso. Something that I don't think many people were expecting is that they've replaced him with Alex Albon.
It's a weird move. I knew that he was going to get booted out of that seat. I just thought Kvyat for sure was going to get it.
On board with literally everyone getting booted out of their seats, but
no. Whenever Kvyat was fucking up in Red Bull, like they were all like, "Oh no, he's our dude." Like, don't worry. And whenever they're like that, it's like you guys are full of shit. Like, I had no doubt that they were gonna swap him during the summer break, but I didn't think that it would be with Albon.
Thinking about it from what known quantities do we have? You've had Kvyat in that car before. You haven't had Albon, so put Albon in it and see if he does better than what you thought Kvyat was going to do, and then if not, then just use Kvyat next season.
Yeah, I feel like in retrospect, it's like, oh yeah, I guess that does make sense. Like, let's give Albon a shot, and maybe he'll exceed expectations. And if not, then it's Kvyat next year. But yeah, I think going in, most people were probably thinking Kvyat would be the one to get it.
I wonder if Red Bull ever thinks about what would have happened had they not gotten rid of Sainz. That seems like he would have been good to be in that car.
I feel like, they didn't really.
They kind of did, because they were like, fuck man, I don't know, just like, you're going to go to McLaren or to Renault for a bit, and then, I guess you got to figure it out now, man.
I'm trying to remember what. Oh.
No, that was so that Renault would give them engines. Because they had been talking all that shit, and nobody else would give Red Bull engines, so.
Yeah, because they really wanted Jolyon Palmer replaced.
Yeah, so Renault was like, "Yo, we'll give you engines if you give us Carlos Sainz on loan."
Then they didn't take him back.
Well, then they thought they had Ricciardo, so they didn't want Sainz. And then by the time they realized they didn't have Ricciardo, it was too late.
Gotcha.
So, yeah, I mean, it doesn't make sense to me in the sense that they're fighting for P2 in the championship.
I think that they are sort of whatever about whether they end up P2 or P3 this season.
It is a company that can just piss away money, so...
Yes.
Yeah, I feel like this is the long play to looking at what will do them best next season.
Right. They've already given away so many points from the first half of the season that they're like, it'll be close if we could do it, so let's just try to set ourselves up better next season instead.
Yeah, and I feel like this could result in Carlos Sainz ending up P6 in the championship.
Wow.
Hooray!
Since Pierre's not going to get that many points anymore, and Albon could come up and take P6 if he does pretty well, but that'll be a nice thing for Carlos Sainz to have.
Well, we got 3 weeks.
Or maybe even Lando, depending on how well.
Yeah, I was about to just
back
check
half
and
of Lando
see
season goes.
how Lando is doing. Lando's in 10th right now. He's got 24 to Sainz 58. Meanwhile, Sainz is only 5 points behind Gasly, so I would guarantee that Sainz is going to jump in front of Gasly.
Yeah.
What if Gasly goes back to Toro Rosso and does very well?
Then it would be indicative of an issue with the Red Bull car, maybe, or maybe the Toro Rosso engineers just work differently and that suits Gasly better or something.
Yeah, that'd be
like he
really
did very
weird.
well
Like,
last year. So
yeah. God, yeah, that'd be really weird if he just like kills it for the back half of the season.
But even still, killing it in that car isn't really going to be much better than what he was doing in the current
Well, if he does like a lot, what if he does like a lot better than Kvyat?
Then fuck, man. If they're just going to pick names out of a hat and see who gets the seat next season.
What if Albon is mediocre and Gasly's way better than Kvyat? Do they try Gasly again?
Yeah, like what happens when Gasly just still beats?
I think that would mean that there's an underlying issue with the engineering team for the second car at Red Bull.
Possibly.
Yeah.
Maybe it's
like I don't necessarily think that it's that Toro Rosso is better or Gasly would be bad. I think that there'd be an issue at Red Bull because obviously all of the best engineers and strategists are going to be working on Max's car.
Yeah, his dad's made sure of that.
So I don't know. We'll see. It's like 3 weeks away.
I mean, on the other side of it, it's kind of hard to lend too much credence to that theory just because, Ricciardo was doing fine, apart from his car just blowing up all the time.
Yeah, but that was last season. What if they took all of Ricciardo's good people and put him
possibly
over with Max? I don't know. It's a weird deal.
Yeah.
Red Bull doing how Red Bull do.
It's true.
Yeah. But that was fun, exciting news to wake up to one day.
That also had repercussions for Fantasy GP. So if you had Gasly on your team,
why?
You now have Albon on your team, or vice versa. If you had Albon, you now have Gasly. So essentially, the rules of Fantasy GP are you pick the first or second driver at that team. You don't actually pick the driver. So
interesting.
Weird, but them's the rules.
I can't imagine that honestly is going to affect that many people. Because I feel like neither of them is a great pick because it's a driver that's not going to be beating their teammate often. But maybe if it's just like a cheap pick, like, oh, I can't afford Max, but I could get Gasly. But I imagine most people would have undone that decision weeks ago.
I don't know. Like, you would lose so much money, like so much of your fantasy money, if you sold him after he's been doing bad versus how much his market value was at the beginning of the season. Like, yeah. I don't know if it's worth it or not, because if he finishes in the points, you still get points for him also. So,
yeah, that's true. That's true. Anyway, that's the first driver shakeup news of the summer break. I expect we'll get some more like driver news, like maybe some confirmations on drivers in the next couple weeks before we return.
Probably so.
So, looking forward to that. Most curious about what Haas is doing, because I feel like both of those seats are potentially up for grabs. So,
I've seen rumors of Hülkenberg, but I can't see him lining up with Kevin Magnussen. So,
no, I can't.
And then in Jeff's eyes, Haas would only have one driver.
It's true. It would be wild. Wait, why is Hülkenberg leaving Renault?
It's not confirmed or not. It's just rumors.
Right, but why is that?
Probably because now he
solidly
went from
a number two.
Number one, yeah.
Gotcha.
He was the number one, and now he's bottom bitch to Daniel Ricciardo. So yeah, and now a seamless segue to Super GT. So yeah, as I mentioned last time, the 500 miles of Fuji happened last weekend, I want to say. Maybe 2 weekends ago. I don't remember. But I didn't watch it until this weekend. And then this segment's actually going to go a bit differently than I was initially planning on, because I actually only watched an hour and a half of it because the commentary was so bad this time.
Only.
It was
You've wasted an hour and a half of your life.
The way that you were talking about how bad the commentary was, I was not imagining that you would have committed an hour and a half to it before you gave up. I was thinking like 20 minutes tops.
Yeah, I mean, like...
It's dedication.
I was doing other stuff at the same time, and by doing other stuff, I mean just like browsing Twitter on my phone. But yeah, it was too much time. So there's a couple things about this race that one was always going to put me off, in that it's an endurance race. It's 500 miles, 177 laps, as I just said, 6 hours. If you've heard me talk about this race before in previous seasons, you know endurance race is hard for me. It's just too long. It's just too long.
This is the person that considers staying up all night to watch one.
I did that once, and not again. Not again. But since this is a longer race than all the others, it is worth more points, which makes it kind of the most important race of the season for these drivers. And I guess actually is technically, aside from the F1 race, the biggest race in Japan all year. Maybe the Suzuka 10 hours is more. So yeah, I'm just kind of muttering now. Anyway, so started watching this race. I was like, all right, let's do it. All the cars I care about qualified pretty poorly because now they've got pretty heavy success ballast. So like the Keeper Toms is 14th. Yan qualified pretty well because he's been having another rotten year. He was 6th. Ray Brigg NSX was 10th. Over on GT300, Hatsune Miku was starting like P9. Really weird car started on pole in GT300, which was the Toyota Mark X, which is a car that I didn't know existed except for Super GT, and it typically doesn't do well. So yeah, then I start watching the race, and things are going pretty good at first, but the commentators... So, again, there's new commentators this year at Motorsport TV, not the good commentators that I had on YouTube the last couple of years. And they're just miscalling cars left and right. And the most egregious example I told you guys about already, but was a gray GT300 Nissan GTR comes into the pits, and the commentators are like, oh, in comes Naoki Yamamoto to switch over to Jenson Button. And that car is a blue GT500 Honda NSX. Those cars don't look anything alike.
It's the same, man.
And it was just like, what the fuck? So yeah, it was tons of that. So after my hour and a half, what I ended up doing to kind of get some experience of this race was I watched the Japanese commentary highlight package. So I couldn't understand them, but I could see what was going on without having to hear people say stuff that I knew was stupid. And also, oh god, those commentators. It's really awful. Like, if this was my first race watching Super GT, I'd never watch it again.
That bad, huh?
The commentary. Yeah, it was rough. There was some good action in this race, and also some like retirements, because it being
6 hours long.
Like 6 hours long, cars have to do some enduring, which is why they call it an endurance race. One thing that happened early on, and was pretty wild, is that a GT300 Lotus was getting in the way of some of the GT500 cars while it was lapping them. In particular, it pushed the red car who was leading the race off of the track, and then the same lap as the blue car was trying to pass it, that Lotus like tapped him and spun them. It was like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, why are you racing these cars that are in this different series? That's not something I've ever seen. I don't think I've ever really seen a GT300 backmarker like fighting with the GT 500s that are lapping it. Like, it made no sense.
Nice.
So that was on lap 10, and then my next note is just about how I hate these commentators, and then my next note is lap 71. The Zent Tsurumo Lexus GT500 had some sort of failure and just goes straight off into a wall.
Oh, God.
And just, like, crashes directly into this wall, like, at speed. And, like, I saw, like, some part fall off the car, but I have no idea what it was, because, again, at this point I'm listening to the Japanese commentary. So there's a safety car comes out, and somehow now the Keeper Tom's Lexus is leading the race from P14. So somehow in like a pit shuffle around here, Keeper Tom's comes out front, and I'm like, yeah, that rules. But the red car gets past him on that same lap. I assume actually probably what happened here is that most cars pitted and the Keeper Toms did not. And that's how they made up the spots, especially considering that they then immediately lost their lead. And then also on this same restart lap, the Wed Sport Lexus makes contact with and spins the Craft Sports Nissan GTR, which is the white GTR. And it's like, sick. It is, like, contact in general is pretty rare in GT500, or not in GT500, but just in Super GT, and that most of these drivers give each other a lot of space. So it's fun to see. And then, lap 102, more inter-series contact as the AU Toms is trying to pass the D-Station Aston Martin Vantage, and just, like, hits them and then has to pull off and retire. It's just like, So not only was it that Lotus twice at the beginning, now another GT300 has has ruined the race of this GT500.
How was this GT500 doing position-wise at this point when it got ruined?
I don't know.
It wasn't one of like the race leaders though.
No, it was probably like 6th or 7th. So it was going to be decent points. So yeah, it sucks for them. The replay kind of made it look like their fault. I mean, they did hit the Aston, but the Aston's supposed to get out of the way. So it's like kind of like a weird backmarker situation. And then a few laps later, Jan Mardenborough is pulled off on the side of the road, and then he gets out of the car, and then the car's on fire.
No.
And don't know what happens there.
Oh no!
Safety car, and the pit lane closes, which I think it does during every safety car. I'm still not clear on this. I think I've mentioned before.
Yeah, you've said it. Yeah, you've said it enough times that I feel like we have a large enough sample size to come to the conclusion that it does close for the safety cars.
Pit lane closes, though. So I think maybe it's just they knew the safety car was coming, and you can get in before the safety car is officially called out or something. But yeah, I think only 2 cars actually make it in time, which are the Wacos Lexus and the Raybrig NSX, who come out P1 and P2. And this was lap 106. Next note, lap 152. The red car is fighting the Raybrig NSX, trying to get P2 back, and nothing actually comes of that. But what does also happen this lap is that the Hoppy 86 makes contact with some other Mercedes and then has to retire. Sad to see the Hoppy 86 retire, because I always want good things for that car. It started P2, I want to say, and then took the lead at one point, and then in the pit, all the pitting and all the safety cars had fallen down a few places, but huge bummer for the Hoppy 86 to not finish this race. And then for some reason, the race finished on lap 175 out of 177. And I assumed it was due to time, because like a countdown timer came up. But when the race finished, the total race time was 4 hours, 52 minutes. So I don't understand what happened there. But the results. The Wacos Lexus wins the race. Rayburg NSX P2. Red Car P3. Keeper Tom's Lexus P4. Over in GT 300, one of the Hurricanes wins. The Toyota Mark X comes P2.
Sorry, what's the Mark X? Is it the Supra?
No, it's a Toyota. It's a weird Toyota.
It's not the Supra and it's not the Prius?
Mm-mm. It is a model of Toyota I've only ever seen in this, but I think they actually sell it in Japan. It's just like a regular car.
Huh.
It's weird looking.
I'll have to look that up.
P3 is another NSX. I don't know why I said another there because it's the first one I've mentioned in GT300. And then Miku finished P8. The NSX that finished P3, don't recognize that car at all. The Toyota Mark X, didn't expect them to end up on the podium. This seemed like kind of a weird race.
It's basically a Camry.
Huh.
After a quick Google, they all look like they're 4 doors. Continue.
And in the championship standings now, the Wacos Lexus is leading GT500 with 73 points. Keeper Tom's Lexus P2 with 59. And then the red car up to P3 with 47.5 points. Over in GT300, the Arta NSX is still leading with 50.5. Then the Realize GTR with 46. And then that Hurricane is P3 with 44. Miku back in P8 with 33.5. So yeah, that's the Super GT race. I recommend not watching it.
How many rounds are left in the season?
I think only 2 or 3. I want to say it's 7 or 8, and this was round 5. Yeah, I think there's only 2 left. The next one's Autopolis, September 8th.
Where?
Yeah. But speaking of Japan, this weekend, Super Formula's back. And Super Formula's got good commentators.
It's Formula One's bottom bitch. From Japan.
I mean, kind of, yeah.
Space.
It is. It's like Formula 2, but for real.
And regionalized.
So yeah, Super Formula is back at Twin Ring Motegi this weekend.
It's region-locked Formula
It's got
1.
twin rings.
It sure do. So I'm looking forward to that because I'm looking forward. I like it when the commentary is good.
Well, they're enthusiastic. I still don't know that I would call them good.
They're mostly accurate about drivers, at least.
Just
Fair.
not about what like Mr. Orange Jacket says.
Well, no.
Well, yeah, you can't.
They're going for that most extreme elimination challenge.
I forgot that show existed.
It's worth a watch sometimes.
It's still on?
No. God, no. You just go on YouTube and you find it and you watch it in like the 280p quality. And you're like, wow, this would never be allowed to be aired today.
Speaking of Japanese television, this is a weird tangent. But there's a show called Documental on Amazon. If you're looking for weird Japanese comedy, that's that.
I can't say that that's something that I ever actively look for, bud.
Some real selective visual censorship.
So Japan.
Yeah, but like impressive, like how specific they are with their censorship. Because sometimes they're like, here's like a big blurred spot, and then we want this one spot inside of it to not be blurred.
It's Japan, man. It's weird.
Yeah. Speaking of weird things, I heard you drove a car.
I did drive a car. I autocrossed with the Oklahoma War Bonnet Region Porsche Club of America this weekend.
You owned a Porsche once.
It's true.
I did. It was very bad, but also very good. So I've autocrossed with these guys before, but it's been a few years back when Jeff and I had Miatas. They autocrossed at a new facility in the town that I live in. It's like 4 miles from my house.
Oh, very nice.
Went and did that. Went and drove the piss out of the Corvette. It's a good time. There's not a lot to say about it. I was trying to keep up with an ATS-V of somebody else who also was a newcomer.
Those are that quick?
It was 0.8 faster than me.
Whoa.
But you also have to take into consideration that they don't have to manually shift, and it has launch control.
Okay.
So, also, I think that guy had some track experience and stuff also, and it's been years since I've tried to drive at the limit.
Were just heavy.
The car was really fast. So, yeah, like I said, he was 0.8 faster than me. Like, I outran him every session except for the last run, the 8th run. But it was a good time. I like the Corvette a lot, and I'm looking forward to doing some more autocross events. I think I have another one coming up next weekend. So, yeah, it's good.
Hell yeah.
Would not recommend going in autocrossing when it's 104 degrees outside.
Nope.
Because the car wants to overheat. And also, that is a situation where I would not make fun of somebody for having driving gloves, because I desperately wish that I had brought mine.
Were your hands all sweaty?
Yeah, my hands are sweaty, man.
How were your knees?
Knees weak. Arms were heavy.
Yeah.
Vomit on my sweater already. Mom's spaghetti.
Thank you.
It's nice that she made you a packed lunch for this event.
But yeah, it was a good time. I'm looking forward to doing a lot more of that. So, like I said, I'm going to be autocrossing not this weekend, but the following weekend, and then I have a track day coming up in September. So, it's a good time.
Awesome. Proud of you for driving the car you bought.
Yeah, it's fun.
Why the fuck would you do that?
What?
Mine. It's in the garage, and I put a cover on it and just look at it, and I'm like,
I own this.
I own this.
Because I like to drive more than I like cars. So, yeah, it's a good time, but it's also going to get really expensive really quick because I need brakes, and there's a Corvette tax on everything. So,
Bruh.
yeah, I know that you know. So, yeah, there's that. It's fun. If you want to see a video of it, there's one on YouTube.
Is it on our channel?
I'll put it on our YouTube channel.
Smart.
Very smart.
If you don't know, that's youtube.com/radio podcast.
Oh, is that how that works?
Yeah,
Cool.
I think so. I don't know if anybody actually just uses URLs anymore, or if you have to post it on social media so that they can just tap it with their fat thumbs. Guys, I want to talk about something.
What's that?
I want to talk about Fantasy GP.
Fuck you.
Oh?
So, I did not put in predictions again for Hungary. So, there's that.
Am I winning?
But, no. So, we're going to go through the standings, but I want to know who the fuck Indy Hockey 14 is.
Wait, I feel like that was a different name than what was there last time.
No, that's the same dude.
Huh.
We have a newcomer to the league, and we have no idea how he got in there or who he is.
Maybe he's
Or
a new listener. Maybe they are a new listener, and now we're just we're ostracizing them.
I don't know how they would have gotten, like, the league.
Well, they could have, think about it this way. Well, they could have gone back. They were just such a fan that they went back and listened to last year's podcast and got the code.
It would have taken a lot of dedication to go find the code.
Exactly. They are very into the podcast.
If you're listening,
tell us who you are.
Tell us who you are, either on the Facebook page or in the radio podcast crew on Facebook. So we're going to run this down, because he came in at number 1. So Indy Hockey 14
It's
with
messed up.
1,744 points. Yeah, it's fucked. I think that there's something nefarious going on, to be honest with you. And then John, Daniel's buddy, P2, with 1,718 points. And then myself, P3. I don't think that that's too bad for not putting predictions in for 2 weeks. Zachary Carroll, P4. And then Jeff, P5.
Fuck.
Jake, P6. Daniel, P7. Robbie Veerhout, P8. Devin, P9. So you're in the points, buddy.
That's essentially P8. I would have finally made it up to P8 now. I guess actually last time I was already P8. And now it has become P9.
Adam Nielsen doing bad, P10.
I don't know. I wouldn't say he's bad. I mean, he's worse than me, but you can. He's still doing really good because I'm just better than that. And I'm doing really good. So.
Yeah, I think I need to actually put predictions in. I have no excuses for this past race. I just didn't do it. I was lazy. That's what it boils down to. So I'd rather look at Area 51 memes than put in Fantasy GP picks.
You piece of garbage.
At first I thought that you weren't aware of the Area 51 business, Jeffrey.
I fucking wish I wasn't. But it's
what if there's aliens
seeped
there?
into everything, and it's just as infuriating. Fucking idiots.
Naruto was on the local news all over the country.
What?
Naruto running, man.
Oh yeah,
You can run faster than the bullets.
I've seen that part, but I didn't know that they ended up fucking making it to the goddamn news.
Yep, they made it on the news, and they all mentioned and showed clips of Naruto.
Good God.
This is the world that we live in. It's 2019.
It's the end
Kicks
times.
ass.
Memes are mainstream now, dude.
I feel like they've never not been. They're just taking a different, form.
Definitely that.
I feel like newspaper comics were like that, sort of, at a certain level.
Mm-hmm. Family Circus is the
satire
original
comics.
meme.
It's not.
Dilbert's the original meme.
Also not true.
What's the original meme, Jeff?
I don't fucking know.
If you're
Go
such
to
a meme
Wikipedia
lord.
and find it out.
The original meme's the Bible.
Also probably not true.
Jeff just is apparently a self-proclaimed meme lord.
I'm
so
not.
I want to know what the original meme is.
Let's go to Google and type in original. You know what?
It's
Let's not do
it's
that.
not
Let's
gonna
say
work.
the first meme.
It's hieroglyphs.
It's that 2006 shit posting.
It says no. You were way off. One of the earliest memes born into the world of digits and pixels was actually a baby. Baby Cha Cha Cha, also known as Dancing Baby, was the first meme to go viral on the internet. It was created in 1996 to showcase the amazing abilities of CGI software by Kinetics Character Studio.
I was off by 10 years.
Yeah. Well, and then the BBC has an article that says, "Is this 1921 cartoon the first ever meme?" And I want to throw my phone at the ground.
Is the answer yes?
I think internet is required.
Oh God,
for memes.
it's basically like the same format. It's a drawing from a newspaper that says how you think you look when a flashlight is taken. I don't know what the fuck that means. I assume flashlight is a photograph. And then it says how you really look. And it's another fucking just shittily drawn picture of him.
That's a really good meme.
Fuck. You could stumble across that today. Except it's not gonna say flashlight because that doesn't make sense.
It's a weird rabbit hole you went down, Jeff.
Thank you for this.
You're welcome.
Send your earliest memes to Austin.
I love memes, man.
Make sure that they just are so fucking compressed that even the text doesn't have a solid line to it anymore.
Don't do that to me. Only good memes. Send them to my phone.
I'm gonna run every picture that I send to you through as many compressors as I can.
Okay, rude. Back to motorsport.
What's motorsport?
Fun. You should try it sometime.
Seems like a lot of work.
It does seem like a lot of work.
It's not all that bad.
It's a lot of work, man.
No, you just start out with a car that already works, unlike what we've tried to do in the past.
It's true.
And then you just do it. That's how you do motorsport. You start out with a lot of money, and then you have a lot less money.
Yeah.
Possibly no money.
Possibly no money. Depending on how hard you motorsport.
Quit fucking doing that in the podcast, Devin.
My co-hosts don't like it when I move my mouth. It's rude, and I don't appreciate it, and I'm going to hang up on them because of it, and thus I must end this call.
Oh, I
And
thought
by
you were
call,
calling
I
your
mean
dog
podcast.
your co-host.
Oh.
Oh,
Okay.
I mean, my dog is, I was going to say our silent co-host, but sometimes less than silent.
She's a perfect angel.
Oh, yes. She's also that. And with that, I bid you adieu.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.